بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لك الفداء يا غريب يا مظلوم يا شهيد بأرض كربلاء ثم السلام عليكم يا أهل الرضا الحسين مظلوم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في كتاب الحكيم وهو أصدق الصادقين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أوحى ربك إلى النحل أن اتخذ من الجبال بيوتا ومن الشجر ومما يعرشون ثم كلي من كل الثمرات فاسلكي سبل ربك ذللا يخرج من بطونها شراب مختلف ألوانه فيه شفاء للناس إن في ذلك لآية للقول قوم يتفكرون صلوات الله. We are almost towards the end of the series of the lectures that we began last week. Today is the 7th lecture, if I'm not mistaken. We have been pondering and discussing and trying to understand the philosophy that the Quran is presenting for us in order for us to understand the significance of our mission on this earth. After hearing all the situation with which we are dealing at the moment, including the bombing today, killing of the innocent people, you often wonder what kind of Islam people have understood. What kind of religion are they practicing? If they can kill innocent people just because they happen to be different than what they are, that's not a good world in which we are living. That's not an ideal place for anybody, any human being to live on earth. What you and I are pondering is our response to all this. If you adopt passivity, you are accountable. And passivity means you don't say anything, you don't raise objections, you don't, act on anything that would spark in you a movement. Modern life has raised expectations. Modern civilization believes that all human beings can be happy. All human beings can be successful. Modern life also guarantees that there will be many more people who will donate their time and wealth in the well-being of the peoples of the world. There are so many organizations, there are so many foundations working day and night to help people who are in distress, who are being killed without any justification. You see what is happening in Yemen, you see what is happening in different parts of the world, and you wonder, where are all the great powers and where are all the Muslim governments? All this raises the question about the modern civilization. Modern civilization is telling us, all of us, especially the Western side of it, because we also have modern civilization, which is the Eastern side to it. Judeo-Christian civilization is claiming to be part of the Western civilization. All other civilizations are removed from it. There's a claim of superiority of Judeo-Christian civilization. It is part of the political strategy of the world to say that all the time. Other parts of the world and their civilizations have to comply with what Judeo-Christian Western civilization is talking about. All the areas of human progression are being defined by the Western civilization and its presuppositions. There's a pre-understanding that it is not only superior, but it is a solution for the human problem all around the world. Whether it is a question of poverty, or whether it is a question of corruption, or whether it is a question of distribution of wealth, creating a common market, creating a more just society. Like Francisco Fukuyama was claiming, the end of history will be marked by Western civilization. Western democracy, Western human rights, Western systems of government, Western systems of everything will ultimately dominate the world because it has found a solution. If that's the case, we saw in the 1990s, in the heart of Europe, we saw what the Christian civilization could do. How the Serbs and the Croats could try to destroy Muslims and other peoples. We are not even talking about 1940s and 1942 and 47, and those are in the past memory, although peoples are trying to remember those things. What I want to underscore at the moment is, if Western paradigm was a solution to the human situation today, then it would have been adopted willingly by others. But that's not a full answer, by the way. What I'm trying to cover up is the inability of the Western governments to stand firm on their values and principles and exert them where necessary in the Muslim world. And I don't want to name governments that you know quite well. These are autocratic governments. These are governments that are not concerned about human development. They are concerned about enriching themselves and others who support them. Human civilization is looking for a new paradigm, and I'm not joking about it. It's a very serious matter. A new paradigm should emerge in humanity as a collective body. What we have discovered is that the claims of superiority or inferiority or blames or condemnation of inferiority is not a solution to our problems as a human community in the world. More and more we are connected with one another. more than any other time, we are actually witnessing the unification of the world. Nothing happens in the East that you don't know here. Nothing happens here that you don't know in the East. Farthest points. If Bill Gates is correct, then his intent to take the internet in the remotest areas of the world so that the whole world is connected in the internet. And he will do it. He means well. There are so many other foundations. I was reading about Sarju Foundation, is an Indian philanthropist who has given a lot of money to see that all human beings have a chance to grow and to develop. There are so many of them. I don't see many Muslim names, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to say that. We are not in the limelight of philanthropists. Yes, our Khan is there. Our Khan Foundation is there. But most of us are not. Yes, Qatar Foundation is there, I know that. UAE Foundation, they are all part of the British Empire, so to speak. There's nothing coming out of them as a native paradigm. What I've been trying to tease out in these nights with you is the potential within us to become the beacons of the new thought. Professor Abdul Karim Surush tried it, and he was declared by Le Monde as Martin Luther of Islam. Too immature to be the Martin Luther of Islam. Abdul Karim Surush is more interested in himself than in the humanity as such. His battle with the Iranian government has given him a lot of limelight, and you know, you have, I don't want to mention these names, the moment you become anti-Islamic, then the Western governments come and pick you up and put you on the throne. Munch? What was this Munch? Oh, yeah. She is now a scholar of first rate. I don't know what she studied and where she studied, I have no idea. Well, Yale University gave her an honorary doctorate. Look at the lowering of the standard of thinking. These are Ivy League schools in America. It's like the University of Toronto would give an honorary degree to one of these big shots of the modern times. What a decline it would mark. There is shortage of Muslim scholars, I must tell you this very honestly. There are very few good Muslim scholars who have this native pride in them. There's some kind of originality in them, which would speak for itself. You don't have to pretend anything. The moment you speak in some of these gatherings, they realize very quickly where this scholar is coming from. I think people are intelligent enough. They're also fair enough, by the way. Fellow academicians are not blind. They might not like you. Your Muslim name might sound very strange. And yet, there is a recognition when there is when there is a spark. What I have tried to do in these lectures, since tomorrow night is not the night in which I can sit in discourse, I need to sum up what I've done. I've pushed you towards one single idea. My sisters included very carefully, that I want you to understand that God has created us with a mission. Our mission is to make this world a better place in which there is human dignity recognized as a principle that is inherent for us to respect anyone. Muslim or non-Muslim makes no difference. If we are not able to generate that kind of empathy, there is sympathy, there is antipathy, there is empathy. It simply means I respect you for what you are. You don't have to pretend to be something else for me to offer you my respects. And this is what the Quran is moving us towards. A human civilization that cannot produce that kind of social binding would utterly fail to provide principles of continuation. I'm worried about principles of continuation because men and women are both needed for this principle of continuation of the civilization that respects humanity simply on one and one principle. Nadhirun laka fil khalq. What Imam Ali said, you are sharing humanity with other human beings, therefore you are respectable, and all other human beings are respectable by the very fact that you all have been created by the same Creator. That's the foundation of the equality and the equality we are talking about. There is no idea of chosen people. There is no idea of salvation bound with the messianic figure. There is only one idea in the Quran. And that idea is human civilization built upon the process of healing. Human beings need to heal all the time. They have no choice but to continue life. If we cannot find remedy within our own native paradigm, then other paradigms should be examined and investigated for that kind of remedy. But what is needed is a good health of the society to move forward. The metaphor of civilization provided by the Quran is founded upon the ability of human beings to produce remedy for its own illnesses. The physicians are telling us, listen to your body. If you don't know how to listen to your body, you will continue taking chemicals to treat your body. You don't have to take chemicals to treat your body all the time. Don't keep on eating all these vitamins. They are not going to help you totally. What you need to develop within yourself is some kind of internal mechanism of listening to the problems. You know how the culture is teaching us? The moment you have a headache, 3 Tylenols. I don't know, 4 Tylenols. That's what the culture says. Quick fix solutions. What the Quran is saying is that, look, I have created in you, a human being, all the ability for you, all the capacity in you to heal yourself. If you don't heal mentally, you will not heal physically. Most of our illnesses are mental illnesses. They are created by psychological disorders. And those can really destroy you from within. You are an angry type, you are a disturbed type, you are this type, you are that type. You can do that all the time and make yourself very unhealthy, both to yourself and those surrounding you. The Quran is providing the metaphor of a bee. A bee can sting you. Don't play with bees. It's dangerous. It's not an insect that will spare you. If you disturb it, it's going to bite you. But bee has one important function to show you and me. That through my travels, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go, eat of all the fruits and walk in the ways of your Lord humbly. Walk in your ways of Lord, in the ways of your Lord humbly is to remind us that there are so many ways of guiding yourself. My prescription doesn't work for you. Yours doesn't work for him. Yours doesn't work for her. In other words, we all have a unique requirement. We have all unique capacities, unique mentality, unique emotions. And we all need some kind of help. And Allah says, go and eat from the fruits. See what He says? Kuli, go and eat. Min kulli thamarat, from all the fruits. And walk in the path of your Lord with humility. So that what will happen? Those flowers, those things that you ate would create an energy in you. It would turn into something sweet, something that you and I call honey. And the Quran says there are cures in it. فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. What the Quran is trying to say is this. Civilization depends upon rebuilding. Well, every time there is no guarantee that the cities would not crumble. There is no guarantee that human beings will not fight with one another. There is no guarantee there will be no more world wars until Christ comes. When the swords will turn into the plowshares, as the Bible teaches. As the New Testament says, when Jesus will come, the first thing He will do is destroy the swords, the instrument of killing. And He will turn that into plowshares so that you will plow the earth. You will cultivate the earth to grow something that is good for you. The Quran speaks about the reviving of the earth. It is not only the earth, by the way, because you and I are soil also. We are soil. We are made from soil. We are made from dirt. That's where we return when we die. And there are natural causes that control us, and there are humanly created causes that control us, and they destroy us. But pay attention to the last item here, that there are people who are intelligent. Human beings are respected by the Quran as a whole. There is no chosen people. There is no specific community. There is no specific tribe. And I told you that even the idea that Banu Hashim are superior to other people is more human created than the Quran created. I must be very clear about it. The Quran doesn't say that. The Quran cannot teach it, because it is egalitarian in its outlook to the humanity. Human beings are all respectable. Infused guidance that God provides us, He does not make any distinction. There is no elitism in Islam. There is no elite group that claims to have a special blue blood or some kind of, royalty or something like that. No, it is impossible in the Quranic view. I'm talking about the Quran only. I'm not at the moment discussing any hadith. The hadith might do whatever they want to do, but I'm more concerned showing what the Quran has in store for you and me. These people are intelligent. Human beings are intelligent, respected by the people. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. All the children of Adam are equally honored. And they are all endowed with what Allama Tabai would say, that there is something given in the nature of human being to search for the truth. You and I will want to know the truth, all right? And follow it and preserve it. If human society is to progress, the thesis I have presented is that we will have to develop virtues in us. Ability to show that we can be much better than what we look. My behavior with you could be better than what I'm displaying at the moment. This betterment of the human development, this betterment of human society is guaranteed by God in Islam. Now I'll tell you this, I'm coming to it. What Muslim virtue requires, trust in God's guidance and human effort and aspiration to become virtuous. Christians were worried. Moderns are suspicious that if you begin to talk about God's work in human life, then you are taking away the ability of human being to independently think about his or her own future. Our future is dependent upon our understanding of what we need in our society. Human moral agency is dependent and empowered by God's grace, lutf. The idea is so well documented by Muslim theologians throughout the history. It's built upon the idea that God is benevolent God. And that benevolent God simply asks you to explore your own being, to recognize your own self. This is what Mullah Sadra, the great philosopher, would say. You begin to know yourself better. And the more you know yourself better, the more better you can advance. Muslim virtue then is acquired, both acquired and infused. Remember, Christians are saying that you cannot acquire. If you try yourself, you will fail to become virtuous. You need divine grace to make you virtuous. If you try to become virtuous, then you are going to increase within you self-importance, and you will fall into the hypocrisy of pride. I'm better. I'm this, I'm that. And the Quran is worried about it. But Christianity says, no. Don't talk about being moral without the divine help. You can't be moral without divine help. And I'll show you what we are experiencing in the Quran. Gradually our faith, our iman, in the akhirat, in the consequences of our action, grows as we make progress in our journey to live and die like noble paradigm. And this, I mentioned, is the prophetic paradigm, Uswatun Hasana of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the topic for tonight. So far, I simply informed you of what we have done. I'm going to explore tonight, in a very brief summary, foundation of human character. Foundation of human character. What I'm interested in is, what the Quran is indicating to me, that you cannot move without reason, but you can also not move without revelation. You need both. What did Christianity say? Only revelation works. Keep that in mind. So biblical tradition like Christianity are constantly dependent upon the divine grace to move you. But I'm going to show you that no, we have a better way of handling this situation. Human good character is a gradual transformation. You don't become good overnight. You need time to develop. You need time to realize your mistakes. You need time to improve yourself. To be good is to be preferred over reliance on restraining laws. Because laws can make you good, by the way, if they force you. For every small mistake that you do, law would say, we'll give you this punishment, we'll give you this penalty if you don't behave this way, if you don't do this way. Although law does a lot of it. There's a lot of things that the law says, you will not trespass these boundaries. You are controlled by it. But we want something to make you a good citizen without law always reminding you how to be a good citizen. Are you with me? Law can do it. We can have a dictator do it. But even God doesn't do it, because God, after He creates us, He leaves us alone. When did you see God telling you, stop? Has God ever held your hand? Is He a dictator of that kind? He simply says, obey me if you like. If you don't like, go away. Here's a very This is what we mean by Allahu Samad. Allahu Samad means He is a God who doesn't interfere after creating you. Doesn't leave you alone completely because He still guides you. He cares for you. But He doesn't dictate to you. The moment He would dictate, Allah Mahili would say, the moment He forces you, He is not God. He is not a just God. A just God would say, I give you responsibility, you act out your responsibility. Divine being is not dictator. Divine being creates you and leaves you alone. When do you see God coming right in your way when you don't stop at the traffic light? The law does. The law tells you, stop. God never does it. There are so many things you do in your private life. You cheat God, you cheat people, you do everything, and God doesn't come to say anything to you. And therefore you take God for granted. His justice for granted. On the contrary, His justice is demanding from you something that you realize your own self-respect. Virtues were understood as the products of human agency. You and I are moral agents, often regarded as an expression of pride. Modern men and women are very proud. I can do it. I do it on my own effort. I don't need anybody's help. This is what we call autonomy. And thus inherently, it might lead us to hypocritical and false claims. I'm good because I tried it. I'm good because I did it myself. This I-ness has to change. Because without the support of the people around you, you will not be able to be good. This is what we are saying. That the moral agency today, modern life says, we are moral agents. We have been created with rationality, created by nature, in rationality. And therefore we don't need God's guidance. Whereas Christian tradition is not willing to accept any virtues in the pagan society. If you're non-Christian, Christians say, no, you have no standing. Christian would say, no, you have no standing. You cannot save yourself. Come on. You need to accept Christ as your Savior so that you can save yourself. So the grace only covers people who are within the faith community. What Islam says, Fitra is for all of them. It's not connected only with the Muslims. The divine grace is not controlled by Muslims. God has given that grace to all of us. Given the prerequisite of passivity in Christianity, I should remain passive. God will work through me in order to make me good. So we are waiting for God's signs to come, and they would make me good. I should be reading scriptures. I should be praying to Christ for help. Christian tradition channeled human agency into the task of self-eradication, self-effacement. I'm not important. Only God is important. I'm not important. I should not claim anything for myself. If I do it, then I'm committing a sin against God. In other words, if we were all Christians, then we would be advised by our priest quite clearly that you remain not only passive, but also engage in self-eradication. Give yourself no importance whatsoever. Don't even say that I am the crown of creation as a human being, or I am the most intelligent. Don't do any of those, because those are sinful ways. The Quran required natural human agency, fitra, to undertake the task of building good character as divinely ordained responsibility on all human beings, without any distinction. All human beings must engage in this exercise of becoming. Self-development then is fardul ayn. It is wajib individually. All of us should undertake to change our ways. Now, when you are then thinking about how Islam is moving between reason and revelation, one of the distinct features of Islam, the Islam that has not been understood, in many of the Arab world, by the way, in many of the Muslim countries, including our own people, don't understand there's a relationship between reason and revelation. The Quran never says that I am sufficient. Hasbun al-Kitab is not what the Quran teaches. Hasbun al-Kitab is what history created. The first person to utter that sentence was Umar ibn al-Khattab. He says, Hasbun al-Kitab. Kafa bina kitab Allah. God's book is enough for us. We don't need the Prophet. We don't need anything else. We don't need even the Sunnah. By the way, if you tell your Sunni brothers and sisters that that's what Umar ibn al-Khattab said, you don't even need the Sunnah, they'll be very angry with you. Don't say that. But that's what he meant. Now, we don't need the Prophet to tell us what to do. That means we don't need the Sunnah to tell us what to do. We have Hasbun al-Kitab. We have the Book of God, which is sufficient guide for us. My question is that, can the guidance provided by the Quran could be sufficient? It could not be sufficient. Secular modernity, in which you and I are living in Canada and all other parts of the world, make exclusive claim over normativity. That means what the secularists are telling us is that when we tell you this is right, then this right is normative. That means you don't question its authenticity. When we tell you this is the tax you pay, this is what you are required to be in order to be just in the society, then you don't ask questions about it. Because this is part of what we have decided to be workable in the community. Workable in the community is a norm, is a principle, is a value. They are saying that we will provide you with the values. We will tell you what is good for you, what is bad for you. We'll tell you euthanasia is good for you. We'll tell you gay rights is the right thing for us to talk about. We will tell you what the political decisions will be made. And you will accept it as part of the secular system of a modern nation state. Traditional religiosity like ours, like Christian, like Jewish, like Hindu, or any other, cannot afford to be rigid. And this is where I'm very critical of the Muslim attitudes. If we become rigid and if we become very much tied by citing the tradition all the time, this is what the Quran says, this is what the Hadith says, then we will not move forward, we will hold back the progression that we are entitled to. Persons of different religions manifest God's justice and peace better than Muslims themselves. On many occasions we find other peoples are behaving in a more justful manner than we do. And this is very, very important to keep in mind, that our ability to improve ourselves is not to close the door against other peoples, rather they require us to open them so that we can move forward. The partnership between reason and revelation in Islam prepares us to demand that peace and justice exist. So if you and I do not believe that this is what the tradition, this is what the Quran is teaching us, we will utterly fail in improving the condition of the world today. Why is it the United Nations is always pointing out to us, UNESCO, saying that the Middle East has not been able to create a single original thinker? Is it some kind of claim of superiority of the United Nations? Are all of them simply telling us because we are, a minority or something like that? No, we are in majority. They did 10 years of research. They wanted to find out what is the cause of Muslim intellectuals in decline. They're in decline. And that decline is marked by lack of any original thought in the area of social sciences, in the area of medicine, in the area of any field of study that you can imagine, including in the area of religious thought. We are in Iran at the moment reading Heidegger. We are reading Kierkegaard. These are, European religious thinkers. In other words, a paradigm that has been adopted in the Muslim world, if there is any kind of progressive thought, it is coming through the translation of the Western studies rather than the original studies in Islam. In other words, even Dr. Soroush, who has been proclaimed as Martin Luther of Islam, he is translating Popper, he is translating Habermas, he is translating Western sources into Islamic language and says this is what Islam ought to be. That's not what we are looking for. The way I am approaching to this whole question is, if we stop idealizing what we have, if you go to the mosque today, if you ask our youth today, if you ask our people who are, following the religion, they will say we are superior. There is a sense of superiority because we are following the classical religion. They will tell you we have the only book of the world, scriptures of the world in the original language. None of the other books are in the original language. I think there's a truth of, some kind of truth there. But what is missing is a connection between me as a contemporary man and a woman and the classical heritage. My classical heritage is not responding for me to be a woman in the modern times, to be a man in the modern times. What should I do? I think what is important too, what they are doing by mistake is they are denouncing modern secularity, modern secularism without fully understanding. I did research for the whole year last year to collect all the words in Arabic that are used for the translation of secularism. And I found most of the time explanation of the word secularism is mistaken, because that's not what it is. That means we don't know what we are opposed to. We don't know why we are opposing the thought in the modern times. And therefore we are trying to somehow critique. We went to meet university people, 4 university professors, including myself in University of Kufa. We went to meet Ayatollah Shirazi in Najaf. And Ayatollah Shirazi in Najaf presented us with the volumes. This is what they do, by the way. When you go there, they give you books. What they're written about. And they give you those books. And one of the books, which was understood by my colleague who was with me, oh, this is about linguistics. And the subtitle was The Fallacy of Hermeneutics in the West. That was subtitled in Arabic. كذب الهرمنوطقية في الغرب. That's how it was, It's a subtitle. So my friend started looking, and because he has translated many books from English into Arabic on hermeneutics. That means interpretation of religious texts, by the way. That's what hermeneutics is. So he saw a footnote, and the footnote was citing Habermas and what he had said about hermeneutics, about interpretation of the text. One of the very important subjects today in Islamic studies is how to read a text whose context is lost to us. You and I are reading the Quran without understanding the context of the Quran. You and I read the history without knowing the history of the region. For us to understand that context is extremely important. This alim, by the way, had not only misquoted Habermas, but had correctly attributed to him a thought that my colleague was able to point out. He said, this is incorrect because I have translated this in my book in this way. This is Ayatollah Shirazi. And he was on defensive. No, I haven't done. Oh, I read it. I said, no. My colleague, Dr. Hassan Nazim, told him that, no, I have translated the book. I know this sentence where it is. This is incorrect. If you are basing your thesis on this incorrect translation, how can the book be valuable? Do you understand what is happening? If I do a research in which I quote a book wrongly, I don't even translate it properly, and then I give you as an authentic work, and you read it and say, well, that's what it is, that's what Islam is. Oh, Islam is against this or against that. What the book does is that it simply shows the fallacy of modernity. Now, that's not the way to attack modernity. If you want to attack modernity, go then do the research on its own terms. Try to understand modernity, what it is. To be a modern means to be secular. To be a modern means to be anti-religious. To be a modernist means to be anti-church, anti-theology, anti-dogmatism. What exactly is modernism? When you consider all these possibilities, the book that was published in Arabic and given to our hands was doing a disservice to whom? I want to hear from you. To whom was it doing the disservice? To Islam. A Muslim scholar represents the tradition. A Muslim intellectual represents the tradition. An Ayatollah represents the tradition. If he's writing about something, then he is holding himself responsible to what he investigates and what conclusions he derives. Therefore, if there is any error here, then you can catch that person saying that this person is misrepresenting the tradition. Are you with me? I want to move faster than I'm moving at the moment. Because I'm trying to produce a cohesive thesis for you to take with you and ponder until we meet next time, whenever we meet. I want you to do that. This is your homework, by the way, from this gathering. I won't leave you without a homework. The homework for you is to think about this hypothetical situation. If you and I are faced in the modern times to make a decision about a very major issue about our moral responsibility in terms of the refugees of Syria. Now let's talk about the practical issue. You and I are wondering, when our sister presented the case of Syrian children, Syrian families, and she truly felt that she needs our help. That's why she broke down. At the end of the presentation, she was appealing to you with her own tears. That I work with these people day and night and I know what they go through. Please listen to me. That was her plea. Wasn't it sad? We all felt very bad about it. Look at the tragedy from two different perspectives. I want you to be with me tonight. I want you to think about the tragedy that has been imposed by the Muslim world on Syrian people, on the one hand. Yes, I don't want to buy into any kind of conspiracy theories about it. I'm a realist, and Quran is teaching to be morally realistic. I'm not supposed to speculate who are the players behind the scene. That's not my work. My work is to assess the reports that get to my hands. Now, I don't mean to say these are objective reports, but that's the only thing available to me. The media is giving me information about the people and their suffering in northern Iraq and the Iraq-Syria border, and what's happening to them also on the Syria-Turkish border. And the way these immigrants have traveled, have gone to Europe, have landed in Germany and other places in Europe. All these must be taken into consideration. Who is doing this? Why are they doing it is not my concern at the moment. My concern is to show you the ethics of conciliation. When things go wrong, what is our responsibility to do? What should we do? How should we? Because we are distant. We don't even know these people, right? We don't know them. We don't know these families. We just know they are human beings who are suffering. For us, as a human being, we have a responsibility towards them. But you and I are also asking questions. How priority determines our moral responsibility. There are also people in other parts of the world who are being tortured, who are being killed recklessly. There are so many suffering people in the world around. Syrian people are not the only people, all right? We accept it, that that's the situation around the world today. There are hungry children. There are children who are abused. There is drug trafficking. There is human trafficking. Human beings are taken, the girls are taken from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from other parts of the world, and exploited in Europe. All these things are part of our big fabric of ethical dislocation. It's an ethical dislocation. When a girl is cheated and taken from her home to become a prostitute, that's your and my responsibility also. We cannot remain indifferent. I must tell you this. Yes, it is happening in the part of the world. We are not part of that world. But no, we are part of the global community. On one hand then, the Syrian refugee question is extremely morally sensitive question. And European countries have tried to help, and they have suffered because they tried to help, because there was also the people from Daesh, from ISIS, who also penetrated those countries and created havoc in Belgium, in Germany, anywhere. Or you might say, that they had to face it after all, they were colonialists. This is what I have heard from the Muslims. They colonized these people, didn't they? France did it. Germany did it. Now they're paying back. That's not a good thing to say, by the way. That's not a good thing to say. The other scenario is the Muslim world's total inability to deal with the moral responsibility of its own citizens and the citizens in the next countries. Why can't Saudi Arabia give them home right there? Why do they have to come to Canada for that matter? Isn't that culture closer to theirs? Would our sister Mona, I don't know who these other women were, all these women, wouldn't they find a better home somewhere in the region? Is the region so overly populated that they cannot be accommodated? If the total population of Saudi Arabia is not more than, 15, 20 million, whatever it is, the land is big enough and the resources are plentiful for them to help. Why aren't they helping? Isn't that a rightful question to ask? Why can't we ask, why is Iran supporting Bashar al-Assad? Now, I was told by my Iranian friends right here in the mosque, in this gathering, by the way, because if Iran did not support Bashar al-Assad, then Hezbollah would be destroyed. Because Hezbollah is receiving all the help from Bashar al-Assad, and in return, I don't know this politics. My question is a humanitarian question. If I'm an Iranian, I'm claiming that my government is an Islamic government. My government has principles and values. Where are those values when these Syrian refugees are being tortured, are being killed, are being bombarded? What has happened to Aleppo, what is happening to other parts of Syria is unbelievable. The question is a moral question, by the way. And we have to face the moral question that who is ultimately responsible for the refugees? Canadian government? US government? Or Muslim governments in the region? Are Muslim governments in the region poor governments? Have no wealth of their own to support? What are they doing for them? They are worried about their own safety. They say that if ISIS enters our countries, we are in trouble because there are corrupt governments of the region. How do you handle this kind of dilemma? that you and I are faced with, doesn't that question come into your mind? Wouldn't they find a better home somewhere closer in their cultural affinity, cultural affiliation of their part of the world? Wouldn't she feel much more better there? But since we have some kind of ability, and I do, by the way, I do recognize and acknowledge that we have a lot of, I think this is something very good, we have never done it, we should do it. But the actual responsibility lies in the collective recognition of responsibility. How many families can you take care of? There are thousands and thousands of people in Turkey. There are thousands and thousands of people in Lebanon. You go to Lebanon and see the refugee camps in Lebanon. You see the refugee camps in Jordan. What are they doing? Jordan has more than 500,000 refugees from Syria. It doesn't have the resources, it doesn't have oil, it doesn't have anything. It's still given home. In other words, what are these double standards doing? These are double standards. We don't even understand how the world is operating today. The moral policeman of the world is the United States of America. And that morality is always with exceptions. In human rights, we talk about exceptionalism of the American government. We are Americans, we will take care of our national interests first. And then we will attend to the world. Don't you hear this all the time in the conversation? I'm asking very simple questions. Can we maintain a doctrine that morality is selective, is relative? And the moment you do it, you are going to hurt the human conscience. The Quran identifies both infused and acquired virtues as divinely implanted capacity that fulfills the requirement of the divine will, Mashiach Khuda, by interacting with it as an empowered individual with will. You have the will to act. If you had no will, then I understand that you have no responsibility. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, you have the will. You will make the decisions that are needed. Pre-Islamic narrative is making us very clear. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his uswatun hasana, his pattern was based on pre-Islamic understanding of civil decency. He understood the pre-Islamic Arabia very well. He did not negate it completely. Unlike us who are in this part of the world, we say everything about this society is bad. No, it's not bad. Every society has good and bad, and we need to be selective. What I am trying to make you quite understand is that the Quran uses al-ma'ruf as a well-known pattern of behavior. It does not negate it. It makes it an incumbent thing upon us. Little wonder that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, on the Ashura day, in one of his khutbahs is very powerful. He says, أين حمية العرب? Where is the Arab sense of respect? أين حمية العرب? You are not only torturing us, you are not only depriving us of our right to have some water to drink, you are killing us, you are torturing our families. Where is Hamiyat al-Arab? Is there any Arab among you? In his khutbah he says, by the way, very openly he says, is there any Arab among you who has some self-respect, who would look at our condition and would say, this is wrong what that we are doing? What I am trying to do here is that unlike Christianity, Islam came and said, you need to use the local understanding of virtues in order to improve your virtues. There's a set of virtues, as Canadians, you know, this is applied in the Canadian society. You are not supposed to negate that and say that this is a Canadian virtue, doesn't apply to me. Rather, you would say, I would be observant of this virtue and I will improve on it if you are able to do it. You are not supposed to say, since I'm in Canada, oh, this is all kufristan, this is all, bad, this is all, That's not the way to approach. What the Quran is saying is that as a honey bee, you're supposed to test all the flowers. You're supposed to go in all flowers and get the test of all the flowers so that you can produce the honey that is curing. Al-Ma'ruf is not neutral. It can still be adopted as foundational to the development of moral culture that was ushered by the Quranic ethics. Quranic ethics regarded Ma'ruf to be its bedrock. Do you understand? It was a bedrock on which it was going to build its own temple, its own edifice of spirituality. What Imam Hussain saw in the 61 Hijrah was the destruction of that foundation. I am towards the end of my discourse. What Imam Hussain saw was that human dignity did not matter, human children did not matter, human life did not matter. Divine resources provided by God were controlled like water, did not matter. Even the Jahiliyyah Arabs had a better sense of moral responsibility, according to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, that they knew it better. And therefore he made an appeal. Don't you have that Arab decency in you? Don't you think that you are not doing the right thing with us? Ashura night was a night of revelation, showing the true face of the community with which the Ahlul Bayt were faced. There was no way to indicate. You see, historians are very smart. They can whitewash history and remove any chapter that is not palatable to the country, or for the country's national identity, or for the country's national culture. They don't allow publication of the books. Harvard would say, this book is not good, so Harvard University Press would say, we will not publish it, because it disagrees with the establishment view. There are so many books, by the way, that are published by the private presses because the official good presses would not publish them. Because they're afraid that if they were published by them, then they would be endorsing it. There are so many authors who have been deprived the honor of publishing through Harvard University Press, or Yale University Press, or Princeton University Press. Because they are what we call the elitist schools, Ivy League schools. Historians who worked on Karbala. And my teacher, Nakan Saab, used to say that historians are never neutral. Abu Mikhnaf, whom we respect a lot as the historian of Karbala, Sheikh Mufid, whom we respect a lot, Sheikh Mufid is still writing from the Shia point of view. If Abu Mikhnaf claims to be neutral, but we really don't know whether he was neutral. If he was in Karbala, why didn't he go and help the companions of Imam Hussain? Hamid bin Muslim, Nakan Saab, my professor used to say in Aligarh Muslim University, that Hamid bin Muslim is a fictional figure. He didn't exist. There was nobody like that name. But you and I, if I open this book at the moment just now, I will read Hamid bin Muslim talking to the people. My professor used to say, my research shows that he's a fictional figure. Anything he reports cannot be trusted in his name. Not he, but in his name. In other words, historians have played a game in whitewashing things, or not allowing things to publish. Human universities are not free of ideology. that controls the minds of the people. Universities are ideological. All the university faculty is always known to be on the left. University of Toronto, McGill University, these professors are always socialist, communist. They like to be more radical. But on the whole, the scholarship they have produced is not as good as their claim is. And I can show you work after work done about the French Revolution, about the slavery, about anything that you can imagine. It took in 1952, when Canada did imprison innocent prisoners, it took a while for Canadian government to recognize that these were innocent prisoners who were used as medical experimentation, as the subject of medical experimentation. Of course, the government being democratic and there's law in this country and there's rule of law, the families were compensated. But the medical experiment that was done could not be reversed. They were destroyed. Can you imagine? This is, by the way, a case that is well known. I don't know the name at the moment, but there was a big conference in the University of Virginia about these prisoners who were held until 1952. Something like that. You can whitewash. This is what has happened to Imam Hussein's history. What I'm trying to show is that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is confronted with several channels of propaganda against him. Several channels that are against his mission. But what he's trying to achieve is this. As I told you in the first lecture, his function was to unmask hypocrisy in the name of religion. The most dangerous aspect in any faith community is the religious people who feign faith, but they are hypocrites. Well, how do you find them out? The Prophet was told in the Quran that we will be faced with enemies. We are not binding ourselves to reveal to you the names of all the munafiqeen. We will not tell you. You will find them out. Because the Prophet used to say, Ya Allah, please help me to find out who these munafiqeen are. So you will find them out. I will not tell you who they are. Part of the reason was that if the Prophet was given that power, he would not have been able to deal with anyone. Are you able to deal with the people? If you always suspect them as being hypocrites, you will not be able to do that. And you shouldn't be doing that, by the way. But then there is a danger to the religion. Such people have a voice in the religious communities. They are the loudest of all the people in the community. They are the ones who are, feigning all kinds of disputes and conflicts in the community. Then, what should we do? Imam Hussein is saying that you can't keep quiet all the time. You need to reveal them. And that's what he did. How did he reveal them? On the Ashura day, he came for his final salutations at the tent. Everybody had been killed. He was alone. Abbas had been killed. Ali Akbar had been killed. He came and stood at the tent and he said, Alaykunna minna salam, ya Ahl al-Bayt. All the women, to all of you my last greetings. As soon as Bibi Zainab hears this, she comes at the entrance and she has Ali Asghar in her hand, the baby. Said, brother, the child is thirsty. Rabab has no water to drink. She can't feed the baby. There's no milk. And the baby is crying all the time. Can you imagine? You give a child to the father, a small baby, not even 6 months completed. And Bibi Zainab, I don't know if she knew, if she had indication that no water will be given to the child. I don't think so. I don't know really. It's hard to read the minds in the historical accounts. She left the baby in Imam Hussein's hand. Imam Hussein is looking at the baby. This is how the history reports to us. Abdul Hussein Sharafuddin Mosavi is writing about him. He comes inside in the tent. There is another mother today to remember, Rabab. Last night we remembered mothers. Tonight we remember this mother of a small baby. You know how mothers are attached to the small children. I don't know what Imam Hussein was thinking, but my imagination is, he must have thought for a minute that Rabab will not see this child again. He came in, Rabab, why don't you put new clothes for the baby? Yeah, I'm going to take him out. I'm using my language. That's not the language Imam Hussein is using. Just clothe the baby. That's what he says in Arabic. Al-Basra. And Rabab is changing her clothes. You know how mothers are. Changing her clothes, tying the diaper and kissing the boy, when the baby is being changed, mothers do that. And I'm imagining Rabab is busy looking at the child. And the child is ready now. Gives to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein covers the baby with the abba. Rides the horse and comes. By the way, if you go to Karbala, they'll show you where he stood. They will show you where he stood with Ali Asghar. Actually, it is not very far from where he was killed later on. If there were no buildings, you would have been able to see that. I'm trying to show you Imam Hussein is unmasking the hypocrisy of the community that was reading the Quran and doing the Salat 5 times a day. You could hear the azan in Karbala from the enemy camp. I'm just trying to contrast the things for you so that they become clearer. They were not Muslims, non-practicing Muslims. They were practicing Muslims. They were fasting on the day of Ashura in Karbala as part of the Sunnah fast of the day. This was Banu Umayyah's soldiers. In other words, you can see all the signs of outward religiosity in them. The only thing that was not obvious to anyone was that this is all fake. Are you with me? This is all fake. This is hypocrisy. Imam Hussein is going to raise that curtain. He said, okay, see them now. You think they were good people. You are blaming me for bringing my family here. That's what the history would do. Why did he take his family? Why did he take his women and children? He should not have done it. Up to the last minute, Abdullah ibn Abbas, and they were writing, to Imam Hussein telling, don't take the family with you. And Imam Hussein insisted that no, I'm going to take my family with me. My children and my wife and my sisters, everybody with me. For what reason? He knew it. Imam Hussein is going to expose the hypocrisy of the people who were there in Karbala. He came out and raised the baby in his hand. I am in your sight not worthy of being given the water. How about this child? Do you see what Imam Hussein is doing? What about this child? Doesn't he deserve to get some water from you? Oh, you think that I will bring the water by asking water for him? I'm going to leave the baby on the ground. You give the water to the child. Leaving nothing to speculation, leaving nothing undone, so that tomorrow historians would say, we should have put the baby on the ground. Maybe they would have come and give him water. Wait a minute. I must say something about those in the army of Umar ibn Asad, in the army, who actually, when they saw the baby, they started crying. There were some who did not qualify to be hypocrites. In other words, there was some who said, no, he should be given the water. After all, what is it? This is a baby. It's a child. Give him water. Atima, give him water. And still there was silence. And Umar ibn Asad knew the game is going to be spoiled if I don't step in. Ikhta kalam al-Hussein, that was what he said, and that's what the historians are telling us. Cut the request of Hussein. Ikhta kalam al-Hussein. And the arrow traveled. Imam Hussein had already picked up the baby, it was here. The arrow came and struck the baby and the side of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Can you imagine this? You and I are asking question, where was humanity on that day? And I told you many times, the day you lose your humanity, you are a hypocrite. The day you don't feel for any other human being, ask question to yourself. What am I doing? Oh. This was the situation in Karbala. Imam Hussein is holding the baby, now the baby is already killed. Imam Hussein is now, you know, it's a very, very difficult situation for a father of a child. He took the baby, and now he's wondering what he should do. You know who he's thinking about? Umar. What will he say to her? The baby was dressed up. Because Zainab was almost confident he will get the water for the baby. And here the baby is already been not yet killed. Imam Hussein is walking towards the tent, slowly, and comes back. Walks towards the tent and comes back. I have never seen Hussein bin Ali in Karbala hesitant to do anything. He was so firm. He made a decision and executed it without any doubt in his mind. But this moment, I see him in hesitation. How can I go inside? What will I tell Bab? She will ask me. I'm imagining, I'm not reading history at the moment, I'm imagining. Bab will ask me, what happened to my child? Did you get water from here for him? What will I tell him? My brothers and sisters, this is the most tragic event, by the way, of Karbala. This was the last jewel of Ahlul Bayt that was sacrificed. This was Ali Asghar. And Imam Hussein is moving. And Sheikh Jafar Shustari in his book has explained the secret of the Amal of Ashura, by the way. Tomorrow on the Amal of Ashura, you will be moving forward and backward. And what you will be saying, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridhan biqadai wa tasliman li-amrihi. I have just submitted myself to the contentment of my Lord. He is moving and coming back. We do that shabi on the day of Ashura when we do the Amal Ashura. And I found very authenticated traditions about it. There is no authentication of the land that we are saying, by the way. Many of my ulama teachers told me that the land in Ziyarat Ashura is not valid, is not correct. Don't read the land. No, don't read the land. No. Even Dua al-Qama, that part where you're asking God to put disease in your enemy, to curse your enemy, that also is not valid, by the way. I'm not saying it. I want to make sure that you understand. That land is not part of the Amal of Ashura. 100 times, no, you won't do that. I won't do it. It's up to you, you want to do it, because I don't think you are fulfilling the purpose. The purpose is fulfilled when you remember Imam Hussein walking towards the tent and coming back. And when he comes finally, Tabari has this section, by the way, he comes finally, he's being told by one of the ravis, says that Hussein came and gave the baby to Umar Rabab. Umar Rabab, your child has drunk the water. You know what is happening? Umar Rabab is looking at the child, and she's saying, أَفَيَنْهَرْ مِثْلَكَ يَا بُنَيَّ. I didn't know they kill a small baby like you. Do they kill a baby like you? This is a mother crying. This is a mother crying out. She's reading the Marsiya, by the way. She's reading this elegy. She's saying that, can they kill a child like you? You could not even carry arms. You could not even go on your own. This is the mother, by the way. And I'm told historically, Rabab is the mother of Ali Asghar. She never sat in a shadow after Ali Asghar was killed. She never sat in shadow. She always remembered, whenever there were tents, she went and sat outside the tent. She could not bear it. And because Zainab would ask us, Rabab, why don't you come inside? Said, my Ali Asghar is still in the sunlight. My Ali Asghar has not been buried. It's the time for petition, for dua. Let's all read together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُسْتَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُسْتَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. All together. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم أدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اے مومنوں جب خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے کلیجے سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ خیمے کی طرف روتے ہوئے آئے شہیدی شرمندہ و غمگین کس یاس سے منہ پھیر کے بانو کو دکھایا اصغر کا جنازہ بے شیر کی میت پہ جو زینب نے نظر کی رو رو کے یہ بولی اے بیبیوں لو خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ کھوتی شہ مظلوم نے ایک ننھی سی تربت باصدغام و حسرت کرتے کا کفن دیکھ کے سر خاک لٹایا اصغر کا جنازہ مقتل میں کوئی صاحب اولاد جو ہوتا منہ اشکوں سے دھوتا پانی کے عوض اشک شہدی میں نہایا اصغر کا جنازہ ماتم حسین قتل شبیر ہوئے چھن گئی زینب کی ردا لٹ گئے آل ابا لٹ گئے آل ابا اج 18 بنی فاطمہ کا خون بہا لٹ گئے آل ابا نہر پر بازوئے سقائے حرم کاٹ گئے دکھ بڑے نانا سہے دکھ بڑے نانا سہے بازوئے سبت نبی شیر دلاور نہ رہا لٹ گئے آل ابا قتل شبیر ہوئے چھن گئی زینب کی ردا لٹ گئے آل ابا لٹ گئے داغ لے کر میں 72 کا سوئے شام گئی تھی عجب در بدری تھی عجب در بدری بیڑیا پہنے ہوئے عابد بیمار چلا لٹ گئے آل ابا لٹ گئے آل ابا قتل شبیر ہوئے چھن گئی زینب کی ردا لٹ گئے آل ابا لٹ گئے آل ابا لاش اصغر کو لیے دیوی پہ بحال تبا شاہ نے دی صدا شاہ نے دی صدا ننھے معصوم کی گردن پہ لگا تیر جفا لٹ گئے آل ابا لٹ گئے آل ابا قتل شبیر ہوئے چھن گئی زینب کی ردا لٹ گئے ہند نے آ کے یہ سجاد سے زندہ میں کہا دیجئے تعبیر خواب، دیجئے تعبیر خواب، خون میں ڈوبا ہوا میں نے جو قرآن دیکھا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، قتل شبیر ہوئے، چھن گئی زینب کی ردا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، آج 18 بنی فاطمہ کا خون بہا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، لٹ گئے آل ابا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، اس حسین اس حسین، کچھ چند الفاظ سلام، اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، لاکھوں سلام، نبی کے نواسے پہ لاکھوں سلام، لاکھوں سلام، جس کو دوش نبی پر بٹھایا گیا، جس کا جنت سے جوڑا منگوایا گیا، جس کے بھائی کو زہر پلایا گیا، جس کو بیٹھے بٹھائے ستایا گیا، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، جس کو دھوکے سے کوفہ بلایا گیا، جس کو تیروں سے چھلنی بنایا گیا، جس کو بے آب و دانہ رلایا گیا، جس کو کربل میں ہائے ستایا گیا، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، جس کے کنبے کو در در پھرایا گیا، جس کے بچے پہ رحم نہ کھایا گیا، جس کے خیمے کو ہائے جلایا گیا، جس کے سامان کو بھی لٹایا گیا، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین پہ لاکھوں سلام، لاکھوں سلام، کر چکا دشمنوں پہ جب حجت تمام، لے کے اللہ کا اور اپنے نانا کا نام، کوفیوں کو سنائے خدا کا کلام، کر لیا نوش جس نے شہادت کا جام، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین ابن حیدر لاکھوں سلام، جس کے سینے میں نیزہ چبھایا گیا، جس کی ماں کو بھی ہائے رلایا گیا، جس کے شیر کا ہاتھ بھی کٹایا گیا، جس کی خواہش کو در در پھرایا گیا، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، سر دیا گھر دیا سارا کنبہ دیا، سب کی قربانی کی مگر اف نہ کیا، دم نکلتے بھی سجدہ جو کرتا رہا، اپنے نانا کی امت کو بخشا گیا، اس حسین اس حسین اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، لاکھوں سلام، نبی کے نواسے پہ لاکھوں سلام، لاکھوں سلام، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، رحم اللہ من کر الفاتحہ۔ السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك وعلى التسعة المعصومين من ذريتك وبنيك. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخيك شهيد أبا الفضل العباس وعلى أختك زينب وبنتك سكينة جميعا.